With each passing day, it seems we're learning more and more about Doctor Who Series 14, so I put out a question to you all, asking for your theories about the series so far. And there's one theory in particular that I really want to highlight, because frankly, I didn't think there was any chance of it happening, but there has been a really interesting development. But before we get into it, if you could do me a teeny little favour and click that subscribe button, it'd be very much appreciated. As you may know, we are trying to overtake Big Finish. Our next stop is 20,300. Any support would be greatly appreciated on that front. But with that said, let's get into the video. So Jean-Luc says, I think they'll all turn out to be the RANI. Now this is obviously a joke to the fact that Doctor Who fans have been casting everyone as the RANI since time immemorial. It's kind of a running joke in the fandom that whenever a new character, particularly a female character, gets cast, they're definitely the RANI. It happened with Missy, it happened with, I think, Tecteun for a bit. Basically any vaguely mysterious female character people say is probably the RANI. And it's no different here, because I've seen some people suggesting that the Duchess, who just got announced a few days ago, is the RANI. I mean, you can kind of see the correlation, right? The Duchess, the RANI, they both sound like vaguely Time Lordy names, and I even put out a tweet saying there's no way that the Duchess is the RANI, it'll be a new character, and to be frank, I do think that is the most likely option. However, someone made a very interesting discovery. If you translate Duchess in Google Translate to Hindi, it translates to RANI. So is this a conscious effort to suggest to fans that this is actually the RANI, or are we looking way too deeply into things and there's going to be no correlation? It's probably the latter, although the Duchess does feel like a fitting pseudonym for the RANI to go under. I guess I should vaguely explain who the RANI is for those of you who don't know. The RANI is basically an 80s Doctor Who villain who is essentially the female master before Missy was a thing. An evil female Time Lord, essentially. And yeah, I mean, it could be her. I'm not overly convinced it will. I think Russell will kind of steer away from the Time Lords for a bit in general. If you want to see a video talking about how the Time Lords could be used in his upcoming era, you can go check out that previous video. But yeah, overall, I don't think she'll be the RANI, but it is an interesting coincidence nonetheless. Theory. Ruby is studying history at university and the Doctor takes her travelling to learn it firsthand, since we have 80s Slug, 60s episode Roswell, and a Regency era episode. That would be really cool. That would kind of evoke feelings of what happened with Bill and 12, where he took her on adventures for her to learn. I think that would be a really fun dynamic. Obviously, we know that Ruby is younger. Obviously, she's actually younger than me, which is slightly terrifying. So her maybe learning about history through school and university or something like that, and the Doctor basically decides to help her out, getting her into various adventures along the way. I think that really works. In fact, you could argue that this theory has even more basis, given that Millie Gibson, in a previous issue of Doctor Who magazine, described the dynamic between her and the 15th Doctor as two giggling schoolgirls gossiping with each other. Which, yeah, is kind of exactly what this theory would kind of suggest. We're going to have a lot of fun. I think Albion are going to be the big bad of the series finale. They'll be interwoven across the series like Saxon and Atmos before them. Yeah, so I think Albion being the big overarching bad is pretty likely. Way back when Series 14 stuff started filming, Albion was seeming to pop up everywhere, and it looked like Ruby was actually trying to infiltrate one of their facilities. I could totally see them being this big agency that ends up being the big bad of Series 14. And it would be very unique. We've not really had, a government against the Doctor, or at the very least, organised kind of militant operation against the Doctor since, I suppose Series 3, when the Master takes over Great Britain. But that'd be really cool. Randomly thought of this earlier, but imagine there's one villain in each episode, but they have many different forms, so different actors. Jinx Monsoon and Indira Obama, and more, all as the same person. Ooh, that's interesting. I mean, it's interesting because also when Jinx Monsoon was cast, there was a bunch of people saying she was the RANI as well. So maybe they're all the RANI. Maybe I'm the RANI, who knows? But yeah, I actually quite like the idea of a shape-shifting villain. That's a really interesting idea. I mean, the Duchess in Regency era England, and I don't think we know Jinx Monsoon's character's name definitely, but they both seem to have weird musical ties. I remember some people talking about how the Regency era England episode was possibly going to feature a historical musical type figure. So maybe there is a correlation between those two. As far as I remember, people were speculating because Russell T Davies put some potatoes in the announcement post for the Regency era England post that perhaps Jonathan Groff was playing Mozart, because apparently there's potatoes named after Mozart. Also, the fact in of itself that Jonathan Groff is in this Regency era episode where it says, "Beware the Duchess," and Jonathan Groff is an incredibly musical actor, adds to this whole idea of there being some sort of connection between these two characters. Ruby is going to be like Clive from Series 1, probably a history student who starts noticing a pattern in past events with the blue box being there, and she starts connecting the dots. Okay, that's pretty cool, I like that a lot. Kate S. is her birth mother, it's Kate Stewart, but Ruby is actually adopted EastEnders, "You Ain't My Mother" scene in episode 4. So that's pretty funny. Yeah, so I've seen a few people, and I think this dates back way back when to when we were seeing Kate Stewart and Ruby Sunday, or Gemma Redgrave and Millie Gibson filming together. A lot of people saying they do look kind of alike, and in fairness, they do. I'm not sure whether Russell would go as far as to have them be related but adopted. I don't think they do that, and also I don't think it would make much sense for Kate, who is very much someone who values family a lot and values like her family history. You know, she mentions her dad every other minute, so I highly doubt she'd put up a kid for adoption. But nonetheless, I do see why people draw the connection. Episode 1 and 6 will feature all new monsters apart from the finale, which will feature the Daleks with a new design. Yeah, so this is an interesting thing. I really do hope we get a new Dalek design down the road for this era, because I love the Time War era Daleks, but I do sort of feel like we've had them so long now, and it's time to see a new design. However, there is another part of me that thinks it would be nice if we could get a break from the Daleks in Series 14 altogether. Now, I don't know whether that would work, because obviously there's been rumours for years about there being a sort of agreement between the Termination Estate where they have to appear at least once per series. If that is the case, maybe just have them do a cameo role like the pilot, and then maybe have a big Series 15 Dalek reintroduction just to give us a series off of them, because we have seen them quite a bit over the last few years. But I would like to see a new design. Here's my theory on 15's characterization. An urban, streetwise, swashbuckling alien who is tough-minded, brash, outspoken, and mercurial, yet has a flamboyantly manic charm, warm affability, and offbeat sensibilities. I think you might have just nailed the characterization of the 15th Doctor. I don't have much to base that on, but everything we've seen from him in filming seems to indicate exactly what you're indicating. I like the idea of the Doctor being outspoken and swashbuckling again. Feels very Tennant, but also, you know, a bit of Eccleston in there. Brash, bit of Sixth Doctor maybe, but also charming, again, kind of 10-ish. Yeah, I really like that. I predict that Ncuti Gatwa will be playing the Doctor. I think that's a bit far-fetched, don't you? New outfit every episode. Most costume changes per episode for a Doctor. Yeah, so, I mean, this is a pretty likely theory. We've seen the Doctor in pretty much a different costume every time we've seen Ncuti Gatwa filming. I might do a video separately talking about why I'm not in love with this idea. In fact, that might be my next video, so stay tuned for that. But it's not the most unlikely thing in the world. I'll give you that. But I think that about wraps up this video. If you did enjoy, be sure to give it a like, comment down below your thoughts, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.